The exchange rate usually is simply a matter of availability of foreign exchange. Nigeria does not have a convertible currency, so we rely entirely on the dollar or other international foreign currencies, but the dollar in particular. So if you have more dollars, then the exchange rate is more favorable. It's as simple as that. The more dollars you have, the more favorable the exchange rate. Now let me explain what happened in the 4 years, 2010 to 2014. 2010 to 2014, Nigeria earned the highest amount of money ever in its history from oil and gas revenues, the highest ever in its history. 383 billion US dollars was what we earned in that 4-year period. That was also the period when we had our best exchange rate, because that was the highest amount of money ever. So there was a lot of dollars at the time. As of 2015 May, at that time, between 2010 and 2014, the reason why we had such a high amount of money, why so much was earned, is because the barrel of oil, our barrel of oil was selling for between $100 and $114. That was the price of one barrel of oil. So over that 4-year period, as I said, we earned the highest ever. But come May 2015, the price of oil fell to $28 a barrel, from between $100 and $114 to $28. So there was a very sharp drop in oil earnings in foreign exchange. And as I said before, it is foreign exchange that determines currency. So if you don't have enough dollars, what will simply happen is that you will suddenly have a higher exchange rate. Now, between 2015 and 2017, the entire earnings, and December 2017, just as an example, 3 years, the entire earnings from foreign exchange from oil was 94 billion US dollars. Compare that to 383 billion. So there's no way at all that you would not have I'm just talking of oil earnings. I'm not talking of importation of capital, just oil earnings, just so as to make it simpler. So clearly, our exchange rate will be much lower, because our exchange rate will be much higher, because we simply don't have currency. It's a matter of, if you have enough foreign exchange, ordinarily your exchange rate should be much lower. So what is the strategy that we've adopted? The first strategy that we adopted is to ensure that we import less than we used to import. As of 2015, we're importing everything. We're importing $5 million of rice every single day. Every day we imported $5 million of rice. Wheat, we're importing large amounts of wheat also, almost 3 billion a year, $3 billion US dollars a year of wheat. We're importing even toothpicks. We're importing apples, everything. We imported practically everything. The reason why importation makes your foreign exchange, your exchange rate worse, is because it depletes your exchange rate. It makes your exchange, it depletes your foreign reserves, your foreign exchange. And once your foreign exchange is becoming lower and lower, once you don't have enough, then your exchange rate begins to go up. Everybody begins to look for more dollars to import more. So one of the first things we did was to determine that we were going to stop or reduce considerably importation of rice through CBN, through the normal way of getting foreign exchange and importing rice. So we started an aggressive program of self-sufficiency in rice production. We gave out 760,000 loans to farmers under our Anchor Borrowers program. And in several states where rice has been produced actively, we began to produce paddy rice. As of the end of last year, we are producing as much paddy rice as we need as a country. That is raw rice. And our importation of rice dropped to just 2% of what we used to import before. The result of that is that we saved $26 billion. We saved $26 billion that should have been used to import rice within the period. So, as of now, our external reserves, that is our collection of the total amount of foreign exchange we have, is in the order of about $44 billion. Now, the $44 billion at a time when we're earning still under $60 a barrel of oil compares very favorably with when when oil was selling for $100. Our external reserve still was about $40 billion. So we've been able to save considerably. Now, once we can save the way we're saving, we have enough in our external reserves, our foreign exchange, our exchange rate will begin to drop. The other thing that helps the exchange rate to drop is importation of capital or investments, what is called portfolio investments as well as direct investments. So those who are investing in the country are also bringing in their foreign exchange. But that process is, of course, a gradual process. But one of the most important things is that as we stop and as we reduce importation, our foreign exchange needs reduce, and our requirements for foreign exchange obviously also reduces, and the exchange rate will continue to reduce and continue to fall. So, but the most important thing that we must bear in mind is that we have enough locally. We can produce everything we need to produce. Today, even our armored personnel carriers, because of a directive issued by the president that we must buy what it is that we produce, all the things that we need locally, that we can produce locally, we should be able to buy. Today, APCs, armored personnel carriers, are supplied by Inoson, a Nigerian company, a Nigerian motor company. Also, Prof, another Nigerian motor company, supplies armored personnel carriers. We have from Aba, several companies that are supplying army boots, several that are supplying army uniforms, and several that are supplying other items. If we focus, if the government the way that we are focused at the moment in ensuring local production of many of the things that we need, our country will not only produce the jobs that are necessary, we will also considerably, all the foreign exchange issues that we're talking about will be considerably reduced. We won't even need to import as much as we need to, as much as we're importing at the moment. So the strategy of the government is very simple and very straightforward. It is that we have the capacity to produce locally. And that's why we're working on other aspects that help production, such as power and such as credit to those who need to produce, But I hope I'll have some time to talk a bit more about that. We have quite a few questions. So the other point, the question that's been asked is, how about Boko Haram? That's number 2 question. Now let me say very quickly that the issue with Boko Haram, if many of us will remember that as of 2015, Boko Haram was in control of 17 local governments in this country. They hoisted their flags in 17 local governments, and they were in full control. Aside from that, Boko Haram attacked Abuja, attacked the UN building, they attacked the police headquarters, they attacked Kaduna, and of course the president was in fact almost killed at the time. He was at that time not president. They attacked Kano, attacked the emir of Kano. Several mosques, several churches were bombed by Boko Haram outside of the traditional northeast where they were. Today, Boko Haram is only in what is called Northern Borno. It's just a part of Northern Borno. That's where they are today. And I think it's important. And I think it's important to bear that in mind when we say, so what is happening about Boko Haram? Now, Boko Haram, don't forget, they're not a conventional army. This is essentially, what is called asymmetric warfare. These individuals are a band of criminals who have come together and who today make opportunistic attacks, attack military bases every once in a while, attack this and attack that. Now, the difference between what we're seeing today and what we used to see in the past, even today, you will see that even their capacity to arm young girls, before now they used to strap young girls and send them in to go and be suicide bombers. We haven't heard of suicide bombing now for almost a year. Why is that the case? It is because the Nigerian army has fully contained them and has restricted them to where they are now, most of which is Northern Borno. Of course, you have opportunistic attacks. You have situations where they say, oh, they killed a certain number of people, killed a certain number of this. Invariably, that is the case. Where you have these kinds of guerrilla type activity all over the world, that's what you get. But they are no longer a strong enough fighting force to be able to constitute a threat to the entire nation by taking over territory. And I believe that in due course, we will have a we'll have a situation where they're completely eradicated and where they're nowhere. But I want to mention that today, a threat that has grown in our region is the one called the ISIS West Africa. ISIS West Africa, or the Banawi faction as they're called, the Al-Banawi faction as they're called, is also a terrorist organization of the ilk of Boko Haram. But they have some financial support and some moral support from ISIS. ISIS, of course, as you know, has just been chased out of Syria. So we have the threat also of ISIS West Africa, and we've been seeing some attacks of ISIS West Africa, especially in the northeast. But our approach to it is to work with our partners, with our neighbors, Niger, Mali, Cameroon, and all of that, working with them in order to prevent the incursion of ISIS West Africa into many of the areas where they are at the moment in Borno, where they're coming into in Borno. So we do have a threat of ISIS West Africa, which is also a significant threat. But I think that the Nigerian army is one that's extremely competent and extremely able. We have problems with weapons, with the purchase of weapons. Why? Because the purchase of weapons is a political thing. You cannot simply go to the market and go and buy helicopter gunships or buy fighter jets. Many of you may remember that almost a year ago, we ordered Super Tucano jets from America, 7 Super Tucano jets from Brazil, beg your pardon. Brazil is the maker of these jets, but you cannot buy the jets without taking permission from America, which, as you know, that's obviously quite an abnormality, but that's the way the world works. If you want to buy equipment, even from Italy, there are concessions and agreements that you must make that America will be involved in. Now, when the president met with Donald Trump last year, Donald Trump agreed to the Super Tucano deal and also to assistance with other forms of military intelligence, etc. We've got some of the military intelligence and all that. We've got an approval on the Super Tucanos, but we're still waiting to get them. And that is the same with helicopter gunships, with all of that. There's a lot of politics, geopolitics, a lot of international politics associated with purchase of weapons. So that constitutes a problem also. If the troops are as well equipped as they could be, then obviously it will be much easier to deal with some of the security problems that we have in the country at the moment. But I must say to you that I do not believe that we have a better fighting force than the Nigerian army, and they've been doing an excellent job. The third question is on minimum wage. I cannot disclose to you any of the agreement on minimum wage because obviously it is being negotiated, and we have to keep, as it were, we have to keep the confidence of the labor unions and, of course, all the negotiating parties. But one of the critical things that I want to say is that we considered to the necessity for a minimum wage because not only do we agree that workers ought to be very decently paid, but we also take the view that it's not just about a minimum wage, but even a minimum in terms of living conditions of people. And if you recall, when we got into office in 2015, 24 states of this country were not even paying salaries at 18,000 minimum wage. Some were owing salaries of between 3 months to 1 year, 24 states of this country. So, of course, the federal government had to support the states in every way. We gave 3 different bailouts in various ways to ensure that states could pay. Pensions were also outstanding. And this was despite the fact that the country earned the highest amount of money ever in its history in that 4-year period. Yet, even salaries were not paid. So I think that, beyond the question of a minimum wage is also the responsibility of government, a responsibility which we have taken on to ensure not only that wages are paid, that they are paid effectively, but also that living conditions are improved considerably. Somebody asked about plans for youths. Let me say first that that's a very huge question, obviously, because there are so many, thank you, because there are so many different plans. But I must say to you that if we look at the problems that Nigeria has today, one of the major problems we have, of course, and this has been alluded to in one of the questions, and that is that we have a growing population. That population is growing by about 3% every year. And by 2030, we'll be in the order of about 250 million. By 2050, we'll be the third largest country in the entire world in terms of population. Third only to China and India. So clearly, our population is increasing in leaps and bounds. 1.8 million new entrants come into the job market every single year. 1.8 million into the job market. So when you look at population figures, and sometimes people twist, unemployment figures, sometimes people twist their unemployment figures. What is going on is not that jobs are not being created. It is that more people are entering the job market or that jobs are being lost. No, more people are entering the job market faster than jobs are being created. That is the issue. So we have to deal with the issue of those who are coming into the job market and what can be done, first of all, as a stopgap. We took the view as a government that if government does not create jobs directly, then we'll not be able to control the influx of people into the job market, and we'll have a problem. We'll have a major problem with jobs. So what did we do? We designed what is called the social investment policy. Part of that social investment policy is a program called Empower. Empower is a program where we started off by saying that we'd employ 200 Nigerian youths, graduates, and in some cases non-graduates. And ultimately, today we're employing 500,000 of such people. Now that number, the 500,000, each of them, of the 200,000, beg your pardon, each has a tablet, such as I have in my hand now. That tablet contains training material, and the training material covers entrepreneurial skills, digital literacy skills, a whole variety of things. The whole idea is that while they are employed for, in the first place, a 2-year period after youth service and all of that, they are also able to train themselves and make themselves more employable. Many of them are teaching, some are in what is called N-Agro, which is farming. They are in every single local government of Nigeria. Some are in public health. We intend to increase that number to about 1 million and maybe up to 1.5 million every single year. And that is so as to be able to, first of all, stem that number of people who are coming into the job market. And these jobs that are being created, as I said, are directly created by government. So every month, government creates a certain number. Every month, government pays this number of people. Now, that's direct job creation by government. The other thing that the government does is also that we now create entrepreneurs by giving credit, as much credit as is possible.